As I sit here surrounded by the memories of a lifetime, I'm reminded of the woman who was the embodiment of love, wisdom, and joy, my grandmother Aurora. To me, she was an open book, her blue eyes sparkling like a summer sky, her hugs capable of healing any pain. I thought I knew her, or so I believed. But life has a way of surprising us, and mine was about to take a dramatic turn. It was the day after her passing, and our family had gathered at her old house, sorting through belongings and sharing stories. I wandered into her study, a room that had been my sanctuary during childhood, filled with books and memories. My eyes drifted to an old wooden box on her desk, one I had never noticed before. It was locked, but the key was there, waiting. I turned it, lifted the lid, and found a worn leather diary nestled between yellowed letters and faded photographs. The cover creaked as I opened it, releasing the scent of aged paper and forgotten moments. As I began to read, a shiver ran down my spine. This was not the Aurora I thought I knew. The pages revealed a life of secrets, of love and loss, of choices made and paths not taken. It was as if I had been living alongside a stranger, and this diary was the key to understanding her, and perhaps myself. I felt a mix of emotions: shock, curiosity, and a deep sense of connection to this woman I called Grandma. The more I read, the more I realized that Aurora's life was a tapestry woven with threads of sacrifice, love, and resilience. She lived through times of turmoil, war, and social change, yet her story was one of hope and endurance. And then there was the mention of a forbidden love, a lost treasure that spanned generations. My heart ached with the realization that there was so much more to her story than I had ever imagined. As I invite you to join me on this journey, I warn you that the revelations will be profound, sometimes painful, but ultimately redemptive. Through the pages of her hidden diary, we'll uncover the secrets of an extraordinary life, one that challenges our perceptions of love, family, and legacy. We'll follow the threads of a love that defied conventions, a treasure that was hidden, and the impact it had on our family's history. In the days to come, I'll share with you the stories, the struggles, and the triumphs of Grandma Aurora's life, as revealed through her own words. It's a story of love's power to heal, to transform, and to transcend time. So let's begin this journey together, as we unveil the hidden chapters of a life that was, until now, a mystery to me and perhaps to you. In the late 1930s, nestled in the heart of rural America, lay the small town of Willow Creek, a place where time seemed to stand still, where the air was sweet with the scent of blooming wildflowers, and the sky was a canvas of endless blue. It was here, in this idyllic setting, that young Aurora grew up, her life a gentle dance with nature. The mornings began before dawn, with the family tending to their farm, the fields whispering secrets to the wind. The days unfolded with the rhythm of school, laughter, and the simple joys of childhood. Aurora, with her curious mind and heart full of wonder, was a dreamer. She found solace in the pages of books, escaping into worlds beyond the rolling hills and dirt roads of Willow Creek. Her love for reading was a quiet rebellion, a yearning for something more than the familiar routines of her life. At night, under the starry sky, she'd sit by the window, her imagination weaving tales of adventure and bravery. The family was the cornerstone of their world. Aurora's parents, hardworking and kind, instilled in their children the value of love and labor. Her older brother, Thomas, was a young man with big dreams, his heart soaring with the desire to fly. He'd spend hours sketching airplanes and reading about the pioneers of aviation. Then there was Lily, the youngest, a poet in her own right, seeing beauty in the simplest things. A dewdrop on a leaf, the song of a cricket. Life in Willow Creek was a tapestry of simple pleasures, helping with the harvest, community gatherings, and evenings spent by the fireplace, listening to stories of the past. But amidst this peaceful existence, Aurora felt an undercurrent of restlessness, a sense that there was more to life than the familiar rhythms of her town. It was a subtle stirring, a whisper of discontent that she couldn't quite articulate, a feeling that the world beyond Willow Creek was calling, though she didn't know what it looked like or what lay ahead. As the seasons passed, Aurora's inner world grew more complex. Her dreams and desires began to take shape, like the first tender shoots of spring pushing through the earth. The mirror in her room, once a simple place for morning routines, became a symbol of her own hidden depths, a reflection not just of her physical self, but of the soul that was slowly, quietly unfolding. And though she didn't know it yet, The path ahead would unveil secrets, challenges, and choices that would define her journey. But for now, in the warmth of her family's love and the beauty of Willow Creek, Aurora stood at the threshold, her heart open to the whispers of the future. As the seasons passed, the gentle rhythms of Willow Creek began to falter, like a melody slowly disrupted by discordant notes. News of a war brewing in Europe seeped into our quiet town, initially a distant hum, but growing louder with each passing day. My father, Thomas, would gather us around the radio, his eyes aglow with excitement, as we listened to broadcasts about Nazi Germany's aggressive expansion. My mother, on the other hand, would knit sweaters and socks, her brow furrowed with worry, stockpiling supplies and planning for the worst. My siblings, Thomas and Lily, would chatter excitedly about the possibility of adventure. But I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Aurora's diary entries from that time reveal a dawning realization of the world's fragility. She wrote about feeling like a leaf on a stormy day, helpless and at the mercy of forces beyond her control. Her romantic dreams began to give way to a growing awareness of the brutal reality. I imagine her walking through the woods, the sunlight filtering through the trees, but her mind clouded by thoughts of war and uncertainty. It was during this tumultuous period that a stranger arrived in Willow Creek. Elias, a young man in a military uniform, stepped off the train and onto our quiet streets. His eyes seemed to hold 1,000 secrets, and his presence sparked a curiosity within me that I couldn't ignore. There was something about him that didn't quite fit with the other local boys, something that hinted at a more complex story. As I recall, Elias's arrival was met with a mix of suspicion and intrigue. The townsfolk would whisper about his past, speculating about his reasons for being in Willow Creek. But I was drawn to him, sensing a kindred spirit, a fellow traveler on a journey that would soon become fraught with danger. Our first meeting was like a spark of electricity, a charged glance that seemed to hold a world of possibility. Little did I know Elias carried a secret mission, one that would draw me into a web of intrigue and forbidden love. The war was coming, and with it, a perilous dance of loyalty, sacrifice, and heartbreak. As I look back, I realized that Elias's arrival marked the beginning of a journey that would change the course of our lives forever. A journey that would test the bonds of love, family, and community in the face of unimaginable turmoil. As the days turned into weeks, the shadows of war crept closer to Willow Creek, casting a pall of uncertainty over the small town. It was during this time that Aurora and Elias's bond deepened, their secret meetings a beacon of hope in the darkness. They would steal away to the old barn on the outskirts of town, or meet in the sunflower field, where the tall stalks stood like sentinels, their bright yellow petals a defiant splash of color against the gathering gloom. In these moments their love became a sanctuary, a place where they could forget, if only briefly, the dangers that lurked beyond the horizon. Elias's eyes, filled with a deep sadness, would light up with a warmth that made Aurora's heart skip a beat. She, in turn, found solace in his presence, her fears and doubts slowly giving way to a sense of determination. It was on one of these secret trysts that Elias finally revealed the truth about his mission. He was not just a lost soldier, but a German scientist who had deserted his post, driven by a desperate desire to prevent a catastrophic outcome. The artifact, a powerful encryption device, was his reason for being in Willow Creek. He had been searching for it everywhere, knowing that if it fell into the wrong hands, it could change the course of the war. Aurora listened, her mind reeling with the implications. She had suspected that Elias was hiding something, but the truth was far more complex and perilous than she could have imagined. As she looked into his eyes, she saw a deep resolve, a determination to see his mission through, no matter the cost. But they were not the only ones searching for the artifact. Nazi agents disguised as civilians had begun to appear in Willow Creek, their eyes scanning the streets with an unnerving intensity. Aurora felt a shiver run down her spine as she noticed one of them watching her from across the street. The once peaceful town was now a hotbed of tension, the air thick with paranoia. It was then that Elias revealed another shocking truth. The artifact was hidden in a secret, ancient labyrinth beneath the town's old church. His mentor, a clockmaker, had left it there, a legacy of his own rebellion against the Nazi regime. Aurora's heart raced as she contemplated the danger and the adventure that lay ahead. With Elias's guidance, she began to explore the labyrinth, her footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls. The air was musty and filled with the scent of decay, But as they made their way deeper into the passage, Aurora felt a sense of purpose growing within her. She was no longer just a passive observer. She was an active participant in Elias's mission, a partner in his quest to prevent a disaster. The diary, her sole confidant, was filled with her fears, her love, and her growing determination. As she wrote, she felt a sense of catharsis, a release of emotions that had been building up inside her. She knew that she was taking a risk, but she couldn't help herself. She had to protect Elias to help him complete his mission no matter the cost. As they navigated the labyrinth, the sound of their footsteps seemed to grow louder, more deliberate. They were not alone, they knew it. The Nazis were closing in, their presence felt in every creaking floorboard, every faint whisper of a voice. Aurora's heart pounded in her chest, but she refused to back down. She had found her courage, her resourcefulness, and her love. Now she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they navigated the winding passages of the underground labyrinth, the air grew thick with anticipation. Aurora's heart pounded in her chest, her senses heightened as she followed Elias through the darkness. The clockmaker's puzzles had been clever, but together, they had overcome each obstacle, their trust and determination forging a bond that seemed unbreakable. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber, and within it, the artifact they had been searching for. A small, intricately carved device that pulsed with a soft blue light. Their moment of triumph was short-lived. The sound of footsteps echoed through the passageway, growing louder with each passing second. Nazi agents, their faces twisted with malice, emerged from the shadows, guns drawn. Aurora and Elias exchanged a glance, their eyes locking in a flash of understanding. They knew they had to act quickly. The ensuing battle was chaotic, the labyrinth's narrow passages amplifying the danger. Aurora used her knowledge of the maze to evade the agents, dodging and weaving through the darkness as Elias fought to hold them off. But despite their bravery, they were vastly outnumbered, and it was only a matter of time before they were overpowered. As the agents closed in, Elias made a desperate decision. With a wounded arm and a look of grim determination, he confronted their pursuers, buying Aurora time to escape. In a final poignant moment he turned to her, his eyes filled with a deep sadness. "Take it," he whispered, pressing the artifact into her hands. "You must get it out of here. Promise me." Aurora's throat constricted as she nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I promise," she whispered back, her voice barely audible over the sound of gunfire. Elias's sacrifice was immediate and devastating. With a cry of pain, he fell to the ground, his body broken but his spirit unbroken. Aurora was consumed by a wave of grief, her heart shattered into a million pieces. But she knew she couldn't afford to give in to her emotions. With the artifact clutched tightly in her hand, she turned and ran, the darkness of the labyrinth swallowing her whole. As she emerged into the cool night air, Aurora felt a sense of disorientation, as if she had been transported to a different world. The stars twinkled above, but their beauty was lost on her. All she could think of was Elias, lying alone and wounded in the labyrinth. The weight of his sacrifice settled upon her, a burden she knew she would carry for the rest of her life. The diary, now a tangible connection to Elias and their love, seemed to pulse with a newfound significance. As she opened its pages, Aurora knew that she had been entrusted with a profound mission: to protect the artifact, to honor Elias's memory, and to ensure that their love would endure, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. The night air seemed to whisper a promise, a vow that she would carry with her always. That love in all its forms would be the guiding force in her life, a beacon of hope in a world torn apart by darkness and despair. As I emerged from the labyrinth, the darkness seemed to swallow me whole. The rain-soaked night air clung to my skin like a damp shroud, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being utterly alone. My legs trembled beneath me as I stumbled back to my home, the weight of Elias's sacrifice crushing me with every step. I secured the artifact, now a bittersweet reminder of our time together, and the promise I'd made to him. The days that followed were a blur of grief and shock. I went through the motions, attending to my daily tasks with a numb sense of duty, while my heart felt like it had been ripped apart. The diary became my sole confidant, a safe haven where I could express the unbearable pain and the weight of the secret I now carried. I poured my heart onto its pages, reliving the memories of Elias and the moments we shared in the labyrinth. But in public I wore a mask of normalcy. The news of Elias's death had been presented as an accident, and I was expected to mourn like any other small-town girl who had lost a friend. I struggled to maintain this facade, especially in the presence of my family. They noticed the change in me, the distant look in my eyes, but they couldn't comprehend the depth of my sorrow. My parents and siblings tried to comfort me, but I felt isolated, like I was carrying a burden that I couldn't share. The weight of secrecy was suffocating. I felt like I was drowning in my own emotions, unable to find a lifeline to cling to. Even in the midst of my family, I felt alone, a stranger in my own home. But amidst the turmoil, a nascent resolve began to form within me. I was determined to honor Elias's memory, to fulfill his mission, and to understand the purpose of the artifact. I started to study Elias's notes in the diary, poring over his writings, and seeking to decipher the mysteries of the artifact. I began my solitary research in the local library, surrounded by dusty tomes and flickering candles. The librarian, an elderly woman with kind eyes, noticed my presence and offered a gentle smile. I spent hours poring over books on cryptography, ancient languages, and history, driven by the need to understand the artifact's secrets. As I read, I felt Elias's presence around me, guiding me, urging me to uncover the truth. The sadness in my eyes was still there, but it was no longer overwhelming. A sense of purpose had begun to stir within me, a determination to carry on Elias's legacy and to bring light to the darkness that had taken him from me. As I left Willow Creek, the familiar comforts of home faded into the distance, replaced by the anonymity of a larger city. I settled into a modest apartment, its walls a canvas of blankness, a stark contrast to the vibrant memories that still lingered in my heart. The city, with its cacophony of sounds and faces, became my shield, allowing me to blend in, to become just another face in the crowd. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. I immersed myself in libraries and archives, poring over dusty tomes and yellowed documents, seeking answers to the questions Elias's diary had raised. His words, scribbled in haste, became my guiding light, illuminating the path to understanding the artifact's true power. I consulted experts discreetly, careful not to arouse suspicion, as I unraveled the mysteries of the encryption device. It was in these quiet moments, surrounded by the musty scent of old books and the faint hum of fluorescent lights, that I began to grasp the artifact's potential. It was more than a simple tool for encoding messages. It was a key to deciphering enemy codes, predicting strategic movements, and potentially altering the course of the war. As I studied, I transformed. I developed skills I never thought I'd need: observation, discretion, and counterintelligence. I learned to notice the way a person's eyes lingered on a detail, or the subtle shift in their posture when they were about to move. I practiced deciphering coded messages, my mind racing with the possibilities. I applied these skills in the city, gathering information in public settings, subtly evading surveillance, and identifying potential threats. But with growth came solitude. My secret life weighed heavily on my heart, and the memories of Elias lingered, a bittersweet reminder of what I'd lost. Yet, even in the darkness, his memory fueled my determination. I was no longer just a grieving young woman. I was a guardian of his legacy, a keeper of the secret that could change the course of history. The Nazi threat, however, remained ever present. Agents still sought the artifact, their eyes scanning the shadows, their ears tuned to whispers. I lived with the constant awareness of danger, my senses heightened as I navigated the city streets. I recall one tense moment, standing on a crowded train platform, when I spotted a suspicious individual lingering at the edge of the crowd. His eyes flicked towards me, and for an instant our gazes locked. I melted into the sea of faces, my heart pounding in my chest, as the train roared in, a welcome distraction. In those moments I knew I was walking a thin line between safety and detection. Yet, with each close call, my resolve hardened. I was no longer just Aurora, the girl from Willow Creek. I was a force driven by love, loss, and a promise to Elias. The artifact, once a mysterious relic, had become a catalyst for transformation, propelling me into a world of shadows and secrets, where the stakes were high, and the reward was redemption. As the war finally drew to a close, Aurora felt a profound sense of relief wash over her. The artifact, once a burden, had become a powerful tool in the hands of the Allies. Her role in transmitting crucial intelligence had frustrated enemy plans and contributed to several strategic victories. The quiet satisfaction of having fulfilled her mission brought a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. With the war behind her, Aurora sought a new beginning. She returned to Willow Creek, the small town where her journey had first begun. The rolling hills and familiar streets welcomed her back with open arms. She dedicated herself to community building, using her experiences to help others. Aurora became a pillar in the town, supporting war-affected families and advocating for education. The artifact, now a cherished symbol of Elias and her past, was carefully stored in a beautiful music box. Its presence was a reminder of the sacrifices made and the love that had endured despite the turmoil. As she looked at the music box, Aurora's thoughts would wander back to Elias, and the smile on her face would be a testament to the love they had shared. Years passed and Aurora grew into the wise, loving grandmother the narrator knew. Her past was a part of her, but it no longer defined her present struggles. She had transformed, emerging from the shadows of war into a life of serenity and purpose. The narrator, looking back, began to understand that Aurora's seemingly simple life was built upon extraordinary experiences and profound sacrifices. As the narrator spent more time with Aurora, she began to appreciate the depth of her character. The diary, once a secret keeper, had become a bridge between generations. Aurora's stories, filled with laughter and tears, would weave a spell of wonder around the narrator. The music box, with the artifacts safely inside, sat on a shelf, a reminder of the journey that had brought Aurora to this place of peace. In the evenings, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Aurora would sit with her granddaughter, watching the stars twinkle to life. The air would be filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of crickets would provide a soothing background hum. It was in these moments that the narrator felt the deepest connection to Aurora, understanding that her life had been a testament to the enduring power of love and sacrifice. As the narrator looked into Aurora's eyes, she saw a spark of Elias, a reminder of the love that had transcended time and circumstance. The smile that greeted her from the mirror, all those years ago, was the same smile that now shone brightly, a beacon of hope and wisdom. The narrator realized that Aurora's story was one of transformation, a journey from turmoil to peace, and from sacrifice to serenity. And in that realization she found a sense of peace, knowing that her grandmother's legacy would live on, a testament to the power of love to heal and transform. As I sit here, surrounded by the quiet of my grandmother's house, I find myself lost in the pages of her diary. What was once a mysterious artifact, hidden away from prying eyes, has become a window into her soul. The stories, the secrets, the triumphs, and the tragedies, all laid bare, like a map guiding me through the labyrinth of her life. I realize now that this diary was more than just a historical record. It was a testament to her strength, her courage, and her unwavering love. I think back to the stories she used to tell me as a child, tales of fairies and heroes, of magic and wonder. I see now that they were more than just fanciful stories. They were metaphors for her own extraordinary life. The fairies were the whispers of her conscience, guiding her through the darkness. The heroes were the men and women who stood by her side, through thick and thin. And Elias, the young scientist who captured her heart, was the hero who gave his life for her, leaving behind a legacy of love and sacrifice. As I reflect on her story, I realize that Aurora's true legacy is not just the artifact, nor is it the secrets she kept hidden. It's the silent strength she embodied, the wisdom she shared through her stories, and the unconditional love she showed to everyone around her. Her life was a tapestry of complex threads, woven together with beauty and precision. And I see now that my own life is a reflection of hers, the struggles, the triumphs, the moments of joy and sorrow. I find peace in knowing that her experiences continue to inspire and guide me. The diary has become a personal treasure, a guide that helps me navigate the twists and turns of my own journey. I realize that I am not alone in this. We all have our own hidden stories, waiting to be uncovered and shared. And it's in sharing these stories that we find true connection, true understanding, and true peace. As I close this diary, I feel a sense of catharsis, a sense of understanding that I had not known before. I see that life is a journey of discovery, not just of the world around us but of ourselves. And I am grateful to Aurora for showing me the way, for leaving behind a legacy that transcends time and space. Her story is a reminder that we all have the power to shape our own destinies, to create our own legacies, and to leave behind a piece of ourselves for generations to come. As we close the cover on Grandma Aurora's hidden diary, we're reminded that life is a tapestry woven with threads of love, sacrifice, and resilience. Her story teaches us that even in the darkest of times, courage and determination can lead to unexpected discoveries and a deeper understanding of ourselves and those we hold dear. The essence of her legacy is a testament to the transformative power of love and the importance of embracing our own stories, with all their complexities and triumphs. If Aurora's journey has resonated with you, then I know that her story has fulfilled its purpose, to inspire, to comfort, and to remind you that you are not alone. As you reflect on the moments we've shared, I invite you to carry the light of Aurora's spirit forward, into your own life and the lives of those around you. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more stories that touch the heart, and share this journey with someone who might find solace and inspiration in Aurora's tale. And as you look back on the story we've unwound together, I ask you, what secret do you think Grandma Aurora held dearest to her heart, and how can you apply the lessons of her life to your own path forward?